Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to the second edition of React Day. A big thanks to whole team of React Day for conducting these 2 days of fun and learning about React.js. So today I'm gonna talk about React.js 18. I think in last 1 year, if we will look back, that's the biggest update happened. About me, my name is Neha Sharma. I'm working as a full-time engineering manager. Over the weekend, I before pandemic, I used to organize meetups, JS lovers, and then pandemic happened. Um, so hopefully we will start soon. When I'm not doing talks, when I'm not doing coding, I love to do calligraphy. So this is my Instagram handler. If you are in quotes, if you are in art, please feel free to drop and check my work. So before we start into the details that what React 18 has to offer, I want to put few things forward that this is a new major version. And it doesn't mean that we as a React developer need to relearn everything. Whatever we so far know about the React, it's still valid. React 18 introduced new hooks, API concepts, few features, and majorly their focus is on the foundation of future, basically where React will be going. So if you are thinking, oh my God, there's a new version now, I have to go back and relearn whole React. No, it's not like this. So having said that, it is available right now. So if you will go back and if you will do npm install or yarn, basically if you will install React right now, you will get the latest version, which is 18th. So what's deprecated or what's not there? There are few things which are discouraged or deprecated, but the biggest one is, I would say, there is no longer support for IE11. So if you have a business use case where IE11 is a must to support, I would appreciate that do not move to React 18. Take a step back, think through, and then only move ahead, because React 18 is no longer supporting IE11. So what's new in there apart from deprecation or what is discouraged? So the first feature available right now is new root API. What it means is that we no longer will be using React DOM.render. And same goes for the hydration one also. So if you want to upgrade to React 18, this is the only change as a developer we have to do after installing React 18. Instead of React DOM.render, now the new API is React DOM.create root. And for the hydrate, we have hydrate root. What it means for the developer? What it means that it is must, if you want to move to React 18, this particular code change we have to do. The reason is this will enable all the features or the concept or the new hooks, APIs, whatever React 18 has to offer, only after we will do this change in the code. If we will not do this change in the code, it doesn't mean the whole application will break. React team was very conscious that this time they wanted to give a backward compatibility, as well as most of the features will be opt-in. So even if you do a React 18 install and you are not doing this code change, this root API change, you will get a warning. And what it means is that now you can create your own root and render it. I will show you the code in a while, as well as with the hydrate one, because in 18, the focus was also on SSR. So they have introduced a new API also. And third thing for developer, it means is the render callback is removed, which means there's a new way to do the callback for the render. So as a developer, key takeaway for you that if you wanted to upgrade to React 18 or you wanted to enable the features, this is the one code change you need to do, and it's must. So now look at the code. So before 18, this is what we used to do. So if you will look at the line number 6, or basically the square rectangle with the red border, you will see this is how we used to do. Now when you are on React 18 and you want to enable all the feature, what we need to do is just focus on line number 6, 7, or basically the bottom square rectangle with the red border. This is what we have to do. Here we are creating the root element, and we are uh, attaching it for the rendering. Why this is important? One of the reason is, before this, React used to keep the record of root, and the render used to happen even when the updates are not happening. But this time they have changed it so that the um, not required updates they can ignore, React can ignore. So that's why this is important. Talking about callback, this is how we used to do line number 18 to 20. This is how we used to do the callback before 18. But in now in 18, what you need to do is you can look at the line number 8, 9, 10. So basically, line number 9, I would say this is how the callback will happen. And this is the only change in the code as a developer we have to do to upgrade ourselves or enable React 18 features. So we are done with the first and the most important one. Now let's move to second, which is automatic batching. This is a very important one, I would say, because what batching is basically mean that React used to group all the multiple state updates into single re-render. And we know when we are doing it, it means good performance. But the problem was React was not consistent about this before 18, which means if any state update was happening from React handlers, event handlers, it used to get patched. But if those same state updates are happening from asynchronous, basically either from a promise, set timeouts, or native event handlers, they were not getting patched by default. But this time, what React has done with 18, that it has introduced consistency in the batching. It means irrespective of where such state updates are happening, either from the default React handlers or promises, batching will happen by default. So now, if we as a developer were writing any manual code to batch the state updates, we don't need to do that, which means that there is a performance improvement for sure. And uh, this will work with class component and hooks as expected. But if you are working on automatic patching and if you see anything is getting break, please go back and inform the React team. React team this time were very open for all the feedback, discussions, and taking the feedback from the community, from the developers, library authors, everyone. Now, as I told you that everything is backward compatible this time, it means that by default, React 18 will batch the events. So if you will see what you are looking at in front of your screen right now, this is how we used to do before React 18. So again, that red border box, what is happening here is on the right side, on the left side, this is the code. What I'm doing there, I'm just putting a click handler, and within that I'm doing a fake promise, and within that I'm doing two state updates. As a result, what is happening on the right side at the console, you will see whenever I will click, two times this state will update, so one after another. But in 18, this is no longer this will happen. The state will update only once. So again, in this screenshot, at the right side at the bottom, you will see the render is happening. Render console is only coming once. I have not written any additional code here, nothing. Same code is running just on React 18 and this is happening. So as a developer, I'm not doing anything. Automatic batching is already there. React is taking care of it. But if you want to opt out of it, what you need to do is you need to do flush sync. So this is another one React 18 has given. You can opt out of automatic patching out. And how to do that? So wherever you have multiple states, you can wrap particular state update into flush sync and the automatic batching will be stopped. So again, if you are working on React 18, you are not looking for automatic batching for whatsoever is the reason, React team is providing you an option to opt out. Moving to next, strict mode. Um, strict mode, there were few under the hood changes happen. The reason of doing this is because of the um, because they wanted to make sure that when you are upgrading on React 18, what they wanted to do is they wanted to see if the old code or whatever the code we have written is not having any issue with the concurrency mode. So in that case, they have done some updates in strict mode. But what it means for developers, the only thing where developers will be seeing any change, first we use it in the dev environment. So when you will go in the console, you will see few extra consoles coming there, which is fine, but you will be seeing a lot of blogs or conversation around that uh, how to mute such duplication of the console messages. As per the React team, we don't need to worry because it's in dev environment. On prod, it is not going to impact anything, so it's fine. So from the developer perspective, everything is fine. It's just React team is doing some conscious decisions to make sure that they are able to identify if there is any issue or anything happening within our code. The last one is the concurrent mode. Sorry, not last one. I'm sorry. So the next one is the concurrent mode, which I think was making most of the noise. And what it is React used to be interrupted or synchronous in nature, which means is once the render is kick off, you cannot stop it. And also we cannot interrupt any of the rendering, which means that we have to wait. Once one state update is done, then the second will happen, then the third will happen, then the fourth will happen. And to be honest, we are JavaScript developers. We are very much into the thought process of synchronous and asynchronous, identifying which particular task is going to take a lot of time. Can we move that to the background, and can we prioritize anything? All these stuff. So these were the things were not there in React, but with the concrete concept, this is actually getting introduced. Now what they are saying with this concrete mode, that we can start interrupting the React rendering. We can interrupt it, we can pause it, we can resume it, and we can abandon a render also. And how this is possible, there are few new features they have introduced: hooks, APIs, for example transitions, suspense, server streaming. Those things are powered on concurrent mode, which we are going to explore a lot. So in my perspective, I am personally very excited about this because this actually introduce open a lot of opportunities for developers, especially in improving our user experience, to make sure that our users are always engaged and we are always showing them the content on their screen. We are all able to maintain all the heavy and light states update very well. So with that, let's talk about the transitions. We know now concurrent mode, what concurrent mode is, and transition is one of the way to achieve that. But what is transitions? So as of now, there are two type of state updates. There is urgent update and there is transition update. In a very layman language, urgent update is basically whenever a human or whenever your user is interacting with your application, like click, uh, hover, pressing, typing, these kind of things. And transition means moving from one view to another. Right now, we don't have any way to tell React which one is urgent and which one is not urgent, which means if you are doing a heavy search task or heavy search operation, what will happen? Your user is typing a product name in search bar. In meantime, the result is coming. We are doing the state update for the view to show our state. At that time, if user will retry to type there would be a delay, there would be a jerkiness, the experience won't be good, especially when you are this search operation and putting the data in the component is very heavy. So now if you will think like a developer, you will say, okay, while my results are coming, this is a heavy task, this is a very time taking task. Why don't I just put it in the background, and meanwhile if my user want to do a typing or do anything in the search bar, let me give a good experience to my user. So this we can do with React 18 now. How? Now we can identify that which particular UI update is non-urgent, and when we are doing identifying or marking such UI updates as non-urgent, that is known as transition. And with that, React will get to know that which updates React need to prioritize and which they don't need to prioritize and wait. So, how to mark transition? So, whenever you want to have a low priority or non urgent state update, you can use straight transition. That straight transition, the moment you are going to use it, it means that this is non urgent and it can be interrupted with urgent updates like clicks or key press or basically user interaction. So, this is the first one with the transition, straight transition, which we need to use. Um, Most updates used to be transition updates, and these are backward compatible right now. So they are opt-in. It's not like that this is default out of the box available for you. If you want to opt in, you can opt in. Right now in React 18, updates are urgent. Or sorry, all the updates React is handling is urgent, which means it will give the priority to the click, basically click, pressing, or interaction. But if you want to update any transition, if you want to mark any task low priority, we can wrap that into start transition. Sorry. Now, what it means for developer? It means that now we can provide a better UX experience. We can improve the performance of the application instead of having the whole application is getting blocked, waiting for the state updates, waiting for the response. Now we can at least introduce little bit of interaction. We can interrupt the renders, and we can also start identifying that which state update is not urgent, which can be get interrupted. You can start thinking that why not set timeout or why other stuff. There are difference between start transition and set timeout too. I would encourage everyone to go back and give it a read. This is a pretty good one. I There are a few demos also. I have also prepared the demo, so if at the end, if the time will permit, I can show you that. So let's look at the code. You can see that start transition can be imported. And here's set search query. I'm wrapping in start transition, which means that this is a low task. This is an urgent one and can be interrupted. So now if the user will come back and the user will try to interact with my input field, they can, instead of blocking the whole UI, the user can start having the interaction. But now while these all things are happening, what we do when the transition is pending? So now another hook they are providing is React team is use transition. What it does, it provides us a flag is pending. So what happens is identify, is there any deferred state or view available there? If yes, then it tries to put that there. So to be honest, you can start, if I have to explain in a very layman language, start transition when you want to mark any state update as a low or non-urgent, basically, which can be interrupted, that. And meanwhile, if you want to identify that is it happening or not happening, you can use transition. Okay, so another thought as a developer could come, that why I'm not writing the faster code, because this was already we were handling as a developer. We already were handling this in our code, that how to handle such use cases. Absolutely right. You can still you need to start thinking that transitions are complementary to writing faster code. This is the support we are getting from the React 18 onwards. So instead of now handling a lot of things by ourselves, we can start using these new features. Now, moving to the next one, what it is suspense. I think a lot of noise happened across it, across suspense, that suspense is their server side components and all that. So let's talk about suspense. Before getting into the suspense, there are few terminology we should be aware. One is rendering and hydration. So renderings, there are two type of rendering: client side rendering and server side rendering. Client side rendering is basically when the React components will be processed and rendered at the client side with no code processing happening at the server side. This is pure your client. Everything is happening at client. In the server side, React components HTML will be generated at the server and sent back to the client before the JavaScript bundle and loads and run everything. So these are the two type of rendering. And I hope a lot of people are aware, like Next.js is the one of the popular for server side rendering. Now, what is hydration? The process of rendering your components from server to client and attaching event handlers at them is known as hydration. So once your HTML is at the from the server, it is at the client. When we start attaching our event handlers, basically started making our components interactive. That particular phase is known as hydration. But why we are talking about it? Because suspense is very much related to understand how server side rendering work and how hydrations work. So currently, if we will talk about before React 18 server-side rendering used to work, we used to return HTML, fetch JavaScript, load JavaScript, hydrate, and interact. This was a waterfall. Basically, every step will wait for the previous one to finish. And at that time, at the client side, we are just looking at the blank page. We were waiting for everything, which is not a good experience at all. So the problems were we were waiting for everything, user is not able to see anything, a blank screen is there, though we can put a loader or something, but still it's not a good one. So what React team has done, they have done the architectural improvement. Now what will happen is server side render will generate a HTML at the server side, send it back to the client, so the page can see the content and data before JS bundles and run it. What it means, because this was exactly what initially it was happening. It means that now React 18 won't wait for everything to be returned. Now the moment our components HTML is ready, it will start showing there. Um, which means now our client, our customer, or our user can at least see something on their screen. Meanwhile, rest of the component and data, we are waiting for that. So for example, on the left side, you can see there is a header, there is a navigation that is ready. When I say ready, the HTML is there, but rest of the screen is blank because we are waiting for something. This is known as HTML streaming. As soon as the HTMLs are ready, we will start showing it at the client side. So this is one of the example, better diagram, I would say. Another thing is selective hydration. Now your HTML is there. So at that time, the moment they are ready, the hydration will start happening, which means they are ready to be interactive rather than again waiting for everything to be done. So this is known as the selective hydration. As soon as your components are ready, they are ready for the hydration also. So basically your user will start interacting with the component. Another good improvement, rather than having a blank screen, to moving towards the components which are ready for interaction. Meanwhile, the component we think is gonna take time. We are just showing a loading or a spinner there and waiting for the data to come from the server. But this is not blocking the rest of the view. Now, another question come here. One of the question come here is, while my one of the we are waiting for the rest of the content, and our HTML is there, if user will interact click between hydration and HTML, what will happen? At that time, React will prioritize that particular component for the hydration, and React will take care of that by itself. So we don't need to worry about it. So the problem we saw initially with server-side rendering, that we were waiting for every step to be finished before we show something to our user. Now we improved that. Now we can show the HTML, we can show the components with the hydration phase also. So the HTML part is known as the streaming HTML and HTML streaming, and this hydration known as the selective hydration. So these are the two improvements happen with the suspense. So this is the example of selective hydration. Again, the better diagram. Now, how the codes look like. So code looks like very straightforward. If you will look here on after the post, the comments one, we are wrapping in suspense, which means that we know that it is gonna take time. It will not block the view. Meanwhile, whichever component is ready, that will start showing on the screen. Meanwhile, the comment content is coming. The fallback would be spinner. Basically, we are showing a loading or a spinner. So this is our suspense. Now, what it means for the developer, it is useful for user experience for sure. We are not making our users to wait. React is going to do a lot of heavy lifting for us, and HTML streaming, selective hydration, for example, is getting handled by the React itself. Now, the next one is use ID. What it means is that use ID hook is generating the unique IDs on both client and server side. Why this is important? Because before this, there used to be a mismatch used to happen when the hydration part phase used to happen. So, and why it is also important? Because there are a lot of stuff, a lot of uh, tasks we are doing where we need the IDs to remain same at the client and server side. One of such example is accessibility. We want to keep the consistency between client and server. We want to generate the same kind of ID for our use. So in that case, this use ID is very useful. Before use ID, there was use opaque identifier. It was having few issues. Those were addressed in use IDs. So please start using use IDs rather than use opaque identifier. And another thing is, do not use the generated IDs for styling and CSS. It is not meant for that. It is only purely for keeping consistency between client and server. So you can see an example, code example here. On line number 4 from the top, you can see this is how we can use. We have generated the ID. Now how to use it? On line number 8 in HTML4 and line number 9 with the ID, we are using it. So this is how we use it. So again, this is useful for the server side rendering. Pretty cool one, I would say. Now let's go to the summary because we have went through a lot, I feel. Um, this is a table I created to understand which API, what is feature, what concept, and how many hooks are there, and one line summary that why a particular API or hook is there. Also, as I told you, that React team has done a brilliant job in opening all the discussions, everything, and they are very keen to know the feedback of the developers. So on the right side, last column, I have put all the links of all the discussions happen around that API within React team. So if you wanted to get into deep dive learning why particular decision has been taken, uh, and all whatever, basically in deep depth, you can just go and check. And if you have any questions, just ask them to. Resources. So from where we can learn more? Two places: React official documentation, please go explore that, and React working group, which I just showed you in the last slide. This one, please go and use that. A lot of information is there. Having said that, it doesn't mean that all the updates or the features are just limited to it. There are few more. So please go out and check. But these are the major one which I shared. Now, how to upgrade? The $1 million question: how to upgrade to React 18? Two steps again. First, npm install. The moment you are doing the npm install, you will get React 18, 18th version, and then you need to upgrade to React .create DOM. Unless and until you will not do the step 2, automatic batching, these kind of features, concurrent, suspense, this will not get enabled. So these two steps are important to do. Will everything get break? No, but you will get a warning when if you will not do the step 2, as I told you earlier. So thank you everyone for sticking with me for 30 minutes. This is my GitHub. Please feel out to reach out to me, and this is my Twitter handler. If you have any question, anything, I will be here for next 20 minutes. It's super early at my end, so I need to go back to bed to start fresh for my office. So thank you everyone.